Good morning, everyone. Merry Christmas. So today is actually December 25th, 2023. Not a very good holiday for me, I'm afraid. There's a lot of crap going on, and I'm not in a good place emotionally, financially, and definitely professionally. It's really bad, actually. I'll just, I'm on my way to my mom's right now, so you'll have to excuse that you hear the road noise and such, but pretty much the only time I can do it where I'm comfortable, without getting any interruptions from the house I'm staying at right now. God, I don't even know where to start. So many of you guys know, October 31st of this year, I got fired from work. Due to really strange circumstances. As many of you know, I've been a senior advisor at Apple for the last year, and the role I'm still kind of getting fitted into, right? Figuring out my limitations and such. It looks like during the shifting of supervisors, my favorite supervisor, she took a different position, and we got shuffled around. We got put into I don't know if this is even a real team. There were like 80 people in there. Most of us came from different spots. We had like 2 supervisors, then we had a different manager for timesheets, and then we had a different manager for stats, and then we had a different manager that did meetings and huddles. Oh my God, it was so strange. Honestly, I don't think I had a manager at the time. I had a new area manager. His name was Hudak. But as far as like any direct supervisor or anybody I could ask, I had none of that. Great. My wiper just flew off. Lovely. The wiper just flew off. Yeah, I have no wiper now. But anyways, it just goes with the holiday I'm having right now. And of course, it's raining. So earlier in October, when we had the switch over from iOS 16 to iOS 17, I worked, the weekend, third shift usually. Nobody was around really. Launch week was a pretty busy week. But for whatever reason, on that particular shift, I didn't really have a go-to person. I didn't know who to ask. I didn't know what to do if I had an emergency situation. Normally I would be writing down the message, and I'll just take ownership of the case and follow up with it another time. I got an escalated call from somebody who was talking about how he needed to place his account in recovery. All I remember was Adidas, because that was the company he represented. He worked at Adidas, and his Apple ID was Adidas something. He's telling me that he was having trouble accessing the site. So, in the 11 years I've been at Apple, I've never changed the password for anybody, ever. Okay, because, it's not that there's a written rule that says we can't, it's just we don't touch people's credentials, and we don't violate their privacy by asking for that type of information or presuming that we could. And honestly, I don't want to know anybody's password. It's a huge liability. If something happens, it says, oh, Henry knows my password. I don't want to deal with that. So naturally, I wouldn't, now it's very dangerous because I can't see. You guys might be witnessing a death here. Let's see if I can just muddle through this. I can't do this right now. This is bad. I'm sure you probably can't even hear me. Oh! So I just lost one of the wipers. I'm not sure how that happened, because the other one, as you can see, is working fine. But I lost one of the wipers. So I guess that was a piece of crap. I'll have to order another one. Not good, because now that's probably going to scratch my windshield now. Oh, golly. What a wonderful day I'm having. Alright, well, it looks like it stopped raining, so I'll probably try to see if I can finish this. But yeah, so I was telling you about the incident that caused me to lose my job. So, we know we're not supposed to change people's passwords. There's nothing really written that tells us we can't. It's just a commonly well-known, spoken about thing. And I got a call from this gentleman from Adidas, and he was telling me that he was having trouble accessing the recovery site. And I thought, oh no, could the recovery site be offline? I mean, we just went from iOS 16 to 17. Maybe the website's overloaded. Maybe there's some type of error message in the scripting, whatever. So I took the case over, troubleshot it. The guy was in fact getting a different site, but I wasn't quite sure why it was coming up. My first incline was to tell him something like, well, maybe the site's offline, but it's not good practice to tell customers that your website is down when you're, the number one computer company on the planet. So I always avoid having to tell anybody anything is down or broken if I can, and persisted to troubleshoot that. I was expecting that I was going to have to report that to some network operations or create an outage ticket that, hey, the recovery site's having problems. But rather than say it's broken, it's down, naturally, I'm going to go and check into it a little bit more and see what's causing it to be down. So I said to the customer, let's do this. Pull up the site on your device, on your phone. I'm going to pull it up on my side, okay? And we'll fill it out together and we'll see what's different about it, right? So, and just so you know, we had already tried to go into settings and try to change the password that way. The problem that he was having was he had already signed out of his Apple ID. I'm not sure why. So the phone technically wasn't even signed into an Apple ID. So we had no other recourse but to do the recovery from the apple.com/recovery. So I had him loaded up on his site. He had some trouble loading it up, but we saw the same page at the end. I said, all right, well, here, let me start to fill this out. So I asked him for his phone number, and the information that he would normally fill in himself, right? It's not as if I took any of the information and I retrieved it internally from our internal database, which I wouldn't do, because I know that that's a no-no, and that's not what I was looking at. I was troubleshooting a website connectivity thing. I wasn't troubleshooting a password thing at the time. I don't even think that my notes even were put anything that had to do with a password. It was the recovery site. So, moving on. So I asked him for the two-factor code that he got. Okay, so I put it in. I'm like, well, the site looks like it's working fine. I'm not sure why you're not seeing the same site. So, potentially it could be a connectivity issue. Okay, so I was like, all right, well, it's asking me for you to verify your email. You want to log in and get your email? I mean, in for a penny, in for a pound, right? So since I was already there, he went through and he logged into his email. He also had problems with the password for that, I remember. I was a little bit annoyed that I put myself in that situation because I had to then help him figure out how to log into his email, which isn't even my job. So once he got logged into that, he got the code, he gave it to me, I completed the recovery request. Okay. Unfortunately, I didn't pick it up right away that I had violated the don't make a password recovery request for customers. I guess you could say I got carried away, troubleshooting a connectivity issue. Towards the end of the call, I discovered he was at an internet cafe. Wow. One of the first things I should have asked, right? Because as a penetration testing individual, I happen to know for a fact that cyber cafes, coffee shops, public Wi-Fi's, libraries, school Wi-Fi's that are, for the public generally have a high chance of somebody performing what's called a man-in-the-middle attack. For those of you who don't know what a man-in-the-middle attack is they'll go through and set up a laptop. The laptop will pretend that it's a Wi-Fi router, so they'll call it free Wi-Fi, click here, and your computer gets connected, and then there's usually a pop-up page that comes up that says terms and conditions, you're not going to do anything illegal, or they're going to charge you. Usually what that's for is for companies to put their privacy policy. Once you accept the terms of agreement, then your MAC address for your for your network card gets added as authoritative to be on the network, and then you're able to see the internet or whatever form of internet connectivity they have, whether it's an internal network or the actual internet, like no different from your home. Now, this laptop that's faking being a router has a sinister purpose, because they can control their own DNS names. DNS being when you look up www.google.com, it goes to a specific IP address or a phone number, and the website comes up through the IP address. Because we wouldn't use the internet if we had to remember every single website's IP address, which is usually a number with a dot, number with a dot, number with a dot, number with a dot. We would never remember that. We barely remember, our mom's phone numbers, if it wasn't because we had a contact address book. So somebody created DNS to be able to map out or look up those names like google.com to those IP addresses. So they can make the websites come up in any way that they want. And what they'll generally will do is they'll create a website that looks, smells, and feels just like the common websites like Facebook or your bank or Google.Gmail, anything really. Because although you're not signing into the service, you're going to try to sign into the service. You're going to provide them what the service page usually asks you to log in. So they ask you for your username and they ask for your password, and you're technically putting it into this fake website, fake router that's logging everything that you type. So providing you fake internet, and they get to see all of that. That's a man sitting in the middle, attacking your connection to see what you do, to either copy what you write down so he can use it himself, break into your account, or figure out your password to do fraud, or a variety of different reasons. So you got to be super careful with that. Well, I suspect, based off of what we had, that the gentleman was connected to a man-in-the-middle server, essentially. Had I known that before, I would have probably had him do this at home if I knew he was at a cyber cafe. So that's the story on how that happened. And I remember that very clearly because I was still remembering, I've never had a call of anybody reporting a man in the middle of the attack. I always try to remember, complex scenarios, and this was definitely one of them. But anyhow, I'm sure he got his password reset because he only had to wait about a week or 5 days or whatever. And again, not having anyone to really ask about or even report that to, I just left it alone. I put the notes in our system and called it a day. So about 3 weeks later, because remember this happened at the beginning of October, and I didn't hear about it until like the beginning or the end of November, the end of October, probably. Yeah. No. I think I had my times wrong completely, because iOS 16, 17, that happened at the beginning of September. That always happens in September. Wow, this happened a while ago. And then it took about 3 or 4 weeks before somebody told my general manager. And not having a supervisor or anything, I didn't have anybody I could hey, what's going on with that? I pretty much avoided any communication with managers so that I don't remind them of hey, you got this pending thing. And I really honestly, he made it sound like, hey, I understand you did this. Yeah, I'm not sure what they're going to say with that. He made it look like he didn't know who I was, and he really wasn't interested in fighting for me or even debating, that my intentions were good in this case. I really got the impression that he didn't give a damn. It's essentially what I got. He had another supervisor sit in. This was the guy that we used to get for the attendance. He didn't really have much to comment. As a matter of fact, his picture that comes up is a picture of him drinking a beer can or something, and I thought, that's kind of weird for work. But I mean, Apple does let people be themselves at work, so who am I to judge what he's portraying his picture of? But in any case, he doesn't know the first thing about me. He doesn't know what I know as far as skill set level, and he doesn't know my commitment with my job. My job at Apple is a big part of my identity, as weird as it might sound. Everything I do is pretty much Apple. If I open up my closet, I have t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, everything pretty much with an Apple logo. There's not much clothes I don't have that's not an Apple logo. So, I consider myself a big old Apple cheerleader. When I go to the store like Winn-Dixie or Publix or whatnot, they know me as Henry from Apple. Oh yeah, there's Henry from Apple with his little dog, and I'm Henry from Apple in every way that you can possibly imagine. And all I am is just a senior advisor who does tech support for Mac computers and iPhones. But someone who stays at home constantly and doesn't have a lot of social interaction. Our job is a work at home job. We generally, I don't leave the house generally. I have my accounts with Amazon, with Walmart does my shopping. Due to affordability, I get everything from Amazon. I usually get like 2 or 3 shipments a day and anything that I need. So when the area manager told me that somebody from compliance was going to look into the case, and he pretty much made it in not so many words that I'd probably get terminated. So it took them almost 4 weeks before they got back to me, because if this was in the beginning of October, I got fired on October 30th. So it took them almost a month and a half before they decided they were going to let me go. Or maybe the area manager just had it on his desk and he just didn't get around to it. I don't really know what the situation was and why they took him so long. But come October 30th, I got fired. Very, very sad day, because emotionally I was a wreck. I didn't really talk to anybody for almost a week. Didn't want to be on the phone, didn't want to do anything. You know how it is that you get so depressed. I literally felt the rug get pulled out from under me. And I was severely depressed. I made every effort to try to file an appeal. The appeal process at Apple was a joke, complete and total joke, because she did make it clear that she was going to evaluate what I wrote, which I actually wrote. I spent so much time writing this, oh my God. I wrote a really good letter to her, essentially, pointing out that I'm a committed employee. I know my stuff, better than most people. I got hired I came in with good CSATs, which are our customer service satisfaction surveys. For the first couple of years, I would have, 100% CSATs for the longest track was 15 months consecutive. And that's hard to achieve. Did anybody ever recognize that? No. Maybe just my supervisor, but I'm just a number to them. Her job, pretty much, she made it clear from the very beginning. She was going to evaluate the entire situation and see to make sure that Apple followed the rules and did not make any mistake. Well, if that's what you want to call it, but I'm going to appeal to you to see if I can get them to reconsider this decision, because I didn't get any training specifically on it. There was no warning, there was no write-up, there was no final warning, there was no coaching session, there was nothing like that. And honestly, I even asked around some of my closest co-workers to see, are you aware of any college procedures, corporate procedures that says we can't do this specific thing? Very obscure. She apparently found it. Me and my friends, we couldn't find it. So it becomes a questionable, unclear policy whether I actually did anything wrong or not. Now, can I get a lawyer? Probably. Do I want to do that? Absolutely not. Because I acknowledge I made a mistake. You can say I got carried away. Anyone who knows me knows I care a lot about the people that I get assigned, the phone call and the cases to. I genuinely care to make sure that I do a good job and I represent the company in the best way forward. The company knows I didn't change his password for malicious reasons. I didn't use the internal tools to look up or provide him with any information, so they can't really say I violated the privacy policy. And but yet they made their decision the way they made their decision, and they did it at the worst time, right? Because although I can't go on unemployment, which is another story I got to tell you in a little while about, my lease was over December 15th at the apartment I've been living at for the last 5 years. So now I'm having to move. I'm unemployed. Okay? Trust me, I've been trying to find a job. Trust me, I've been trying to find a job. At the same time, my mom and my sister feel like this is a great opportunity. Let's go and move up to Ocala. You don't have a job right now. It'd be great for you to restart over there. Ocala? Ocala's nice, and I wouldn't mind living there, but like right now, everything is broken. Everything is truly broken. She sold her property, so she's got, $50 grand in her pocket for a down payment. And she pretty much told me to just don't focus on getting a job down here, and let's just move over there. I have a house that I'm going to be closing on the end of December. We can move in the beginning of January. I'm thinking, yeah, I guess we can do that. So she was like, yeah, I'll take care of your rent this month. And I was like, oh, okay, well, if you're going to do that, then what can I lose, right? If I start looking for jobs down here to interview and do up there, then that'll work out too, which I have been doing. But you really want to know what the hardest thing about the whole thing about losing my job in the winter is, or actually the fall going into winter, is that because of the holidays, nobody's really making hiring decisions until after the new year, which is upon us another, week and a half, 2 weeks. So I can't expect that I was going to find a job right then and there. So I signed up for Grubhub, Uber, and Lyft. And I said, all right, well, you know what? I've got about 15 shares of Apple stocks that were vested already. I cashed that sucker in and I got this car. Okay. That was expensive. Okay, because I don't know what's going on with the insurance rates here in Florida. Most of the insurance companies, they've already closed shop here. They're not even selling policies. Not quite sure how that works and why, that's been a hard thing. But I got this 2013 Ford Escape. It's not bad condition. I mean, it's got a couple little dings and dongs around, the outside. Now it doesn't have a wiper. It's in decent shape. I figured, let me get myself a little mini SUV. It's a 4-cylinder. And I saw an ad. The guy wanted $2,500 for it. So I said, well, I just happen to have that. So I pretty much walked in there with $3,000, handed him $3,000, and then he's like, well, we're going to defer your additional down payment. You got to come up with another $1,500. What? That's not what your ad said. At this time, we had already spent so much time. I really didn't even want to be there anymore. He's like, yeah, it's only going to be $109 every 2 weeks. So that's what, $220? For the next 2 years, I'm paying that every month. And when it comes down, after we got all of that done, I said, well, you know what? I need to get a car. That's way more than I wanted to pay for it. I didn't want to get into a loan. But we didn't do a loan. Technically, I'm paying the used car lot, and I just, out of all things, Zelle them or Cash App them the money every other week, which is ridiculous. Because it's not like I'm even getting credit on my credit report for it. But whatever, right? So in order for me to drive out, I have to have insurance established. Of course, I didn't. So we called. He said, "Oh, well, I got a number. We'll get you insurance. The insurance quote came through. $360 to fully insure this car. Wow. Now, mind you, it's got 170,000 miles. It's a 4-cylinder. It's a 2013. Okay. I haven't had a car since I had to throw my Mercedes out because the complex wanted no cars with expired tags, and I wasn't going to get a tag insurance for a car I don't use. So I threw it away. So $360 a month for the insurance. Actually, I think that was a down payment. The monthly, I think, was like $260 or something like that. A little bit less. That's it. Deal's out. There's no way I can afford that. I don't even know where I'm going to get the money for that. Okay? here I am, no job. Got to start planning to move in about a month because this was in November, right? And my lease is up December 15th. Can't even bother to find a job because, well, I'm supposed to be moving. Why go through the effort now? And so I said no. So the guy's like, okay, good. Technically, what he did was not legal, but he actually got me to sign up for the PIP coverage, which is a partial coverage. So if I hit somebody, essentially, I wouldn't be responsible for that, but I wouldn't be able to get my car fixed, type of thing. It's not the comp and collision, it's just the liability. So that was $265 down with $150 a month. Oh my God, that's still a lot of money. Okay. It doesn't even fit in my budget at all. I'd have like no money left. I got like negative money left over at the end of the month if I did this deal. Well, somehow, he let me drive out of there with the PIP insurance, so we got that going, okay? And then I got a car. The tag was another headache because Lyft and Uber, they wouldn't let me drive with a temporary tag, so I had to wait almost a month before I could get the actual tag. And on top of that, I had to pay an additional $300 from these insurance people or from this car lot so that I can get my tag. I couldn't just walk into a tag agency and walk out like I normally would. I don't understand why, but I was not happy about that. So that was another $300. Money, again, this car was a complete ripoff to get, but I needed something. I needed something to move. I needed something to generate revenue. And I couldn't even generate revenue because I can't even do Lyfts and Ubers. I could do Grubhub, which is another story for another day.